Hi, I'm Jasmine and I'm the set and costume designer for Animal Farm. I have got long curly hair and pink glasses. I'm working constantly with the director, but also with the teams which are helping to bring the design to life. So I've been working really closely with Jenny Quirk, who's the costume supervisor, who's been heading up our team of costume makers and dresses and wardrobe on bringing the costumes to life. Um, but you're also working with production management, set builders, scenic painters, stage management. Um, yeah, it's just like an ongoing, evolving process, really. Um, but in terms of Animal Farm's process, some of the design process which got us to what we will see on stage. Um, I think Ed and I, the director for Animal Farm, we really wanted to create a non-literal space that allows for a lot of play, allows for a lot of imagination. We start with an empty stage. The set design is actually quite bare and quite simple, but then and it needs to be like that because the show is so physical and there's a lot of movement in it. And we flood the stage with a lot of people. It's relentless. It never gives up, kind of thing. Um, and but then we bring more things onto the stage, and by the end of Act Two, the stage is a mess. And we've got quite a few different fun things. We've got quite a lot of rubber crumb. People using buckets and using ladders. We erect a windmill on stage multiple times that then one time it gets exploded, another time it falls down. And we were really keen on not patronizing the audience. So we don't need to put a literal windmill on stage for the audience to believe that they're watching a windmill being built by animals. So we use various different ladders and choreography to create that. And the set design itself, it's quite industrial. We've got kind of like PVC green floor. It's been scenic painted, so it's an acidic green. So it kind of hints at like farmyard grass. But it's also it's plastic. It's the stuff which is used in factory flooring. And we've got butcher's curtains, which are then caked in mud and dirt and rust. And we've got chains on the back wall as well. So it's kind of to evoke this kind of slaughterhouse, harsh, bleak environment. And then the costumes, the costumes are quite detailed. We wanted to be able to see all of the animals en masse, and to understand that they are animals. And so everybody's got they've got an animal tag in their ear, and they've got a number spray painted on their hide, on their bum, as if they're cattle. And their base costumes they're kind of bodysuit flesh suits, which they have been gathered and ruched and appliqued with different pieces of fabric, so different leathers or suedes, to kind of evoke flesh, but also raw meat, animal hide. And all of this is then suited to the actor's skin tone. But everybody has got a base costume, and then they all have character add-ons which they put on over the top. And we were really keen for these character add-ons to be quite playful and witty and imaginative, rather than saying, oh, this person's an animal, here's a tail, here's ears. I think to do that would be a disservice to the quality of the acting, because they switch between playing almost human characters and animals, and you can see their bestiality in the physicality, the way they move. So, for example, all of the pigs in the show, they wear various different shades of pink. And the pigs, they're wearing like blazers, and in the second half the pigs suddenly become cleaner, their costumes are more tailored. The Minty, who's playing a sheep, he has got a white tutu and a fluffy woolly jumper and a fluffy hat. All of the horses have got they've got a lot of leather and chains and corsetry. Yeah, we've kind of created different rules for different characters. The birds, so the Milo the pigeon and Clara the hen, they both have ponchos, which can kind of allude to wings in the way that they move and the way the costumes move on stage. I think when you design you design a show for a tour, rather than just for a single venue, there are some elements of the design which change per venue. Especially with this, we go to Salton Hall, which is a site-specific performance in the courtyard of it's outside, and we have a giant barn behind it. It's literally on a farm, and we thought that for that, when we're in Salton Hall, we're not going to take the butcher's curtains, which when we're in our other two venues, that is our back wall and our side walls. But I think in somewhere which is site specific and you're getting all of the atmosphere from the giant back wall which already exists, which is the farmhouse, it seems silly to kind of make another stage. So we're still going to take our floor, and we'll still have all of the costumes and props and other scenic elements, but we're not going to take the our back walls, the butcher's curtains, for when we're at Salton Hall. And the only other design change which we won't have at the farm is there are commandments which are in the play, and we are using an OHP to project the commandments. They are projected onto the butcher's curtains back wall, and it's a movable thing which can move around the stage. You just change the acetate every time, and we see a new commandment on the back wall. But when we're in Salton Farm, that is we'll be doing matinee performances, so we won't be able to see the OHP won't work for that. So instead, we're going to use a like a flipboard, chalkboard kind of thing, which will get brought on for those moments. So I think it's just about it's not redesigning scenic elements per venue. It's more kind of working within your limitations and adapting per venue. But still keeping the essence of the design and what it needs to do and what it needs to convey. I think the key elements to consider when designing set and costume for a theatre production would be, how do you want to make the audience feel? What emotion do you want to evoke? What atmosphere do you want to make? I think set design and costume design is very much about you're creating a world, and whether that world is naturalistic or whether it's fantastical, abstract, non-literal, but how do you want that to feel? What the textures, what the colours, and how can those design choices link to an emotion? And can you use design and set design in a dramaturgical way? Can you highlight a certain piece of the writing or a certain bit of the story? Is there a certain message which you want to get across through the design? Does the design progress as the show goes on? Do you build it up or do you tear it apart? Or like I was saying with creating a mess on stage, can you transform the space? I think when an audience enters a space and you start watching a show, you take in your surroundings and you kind of accept what you're viewing as that is the reality. These are the rules of the space. This is the construct. But then I think it can be really fun to mess with that and turn it on its head in some way. And like making a mess or tearing the set apart, or if you think a wall is a solid wall, then actually later on in the play, does somebody come bursting through that wall and that wall's actually made of paper? All of these things you only really should do if it's right for the text and it is propelling the story in some way, because at the end of the day the design is there to support the show and to support the writing and to help add to the narrative. In terms of advice for young people pursuing a career in set or costume design, I would say just try and see as many shows as you can, even if they're not to your particular taste. You are going to get something from seeing that show, whether it's a slight tiny detail, whether you liked a bit of the costume or you loved that scene change or that lighting state. I think by seeing live theatre and seeing how the design can progress through a show, I think that's invaluable. Obviously it's quite difficult to see in-person shows at the moment, but there are a lot of resources online, like NT Live, and lots of recorded, pre-recorded theatre productions, which are a really great thing to see. And I would also say try and get as much hands-on experience on shows as you can, whether you're working as a prop maker or a scenic painter or doing a bit of set dressing or a little bit of model making. I think it's really great to get hands-on experience creating an actual show rather than just theorizing over one.